Cruise ship disappearances, while rare, they do occur occasionally. People going missing on cruise ships from time to time, a tragedy that shakes an entire ship that has to continue its journey. Let's dive in. Since 2018, in US alone, 7 people have been reported missing from cruise lines, according to US Department of Transportation archives. It's estimated that over 100 passengers have gone missing in the past 20 years. Once they have boarded on the ship, they vanished and never came back. So, what happened? The leading cause is assumed to be passengers falling overboard, often due to intoxication or reckless behavior. But even though falling out of the ship is not easy, all cruise ships must have safety barriers on open decks and balconies that are at least 42 inches high. These barriers are made of strong materials like metal or plexiglass panels to prevent people from slipping through. Falls overboard are rarely accidental and often result from intentional actions or unsafe behaviors like climbing on railings. Some cruise lines are incorporating overboard detection sensors using thermal cameras and micro radars to quickly identify incidents. Between 2009 and 2019, there were only 112 recorded overboard incidents globally, which is extremely low compared to the millions of passengers who cruise each year. A cruising expert has reassured that it is difficult to fall overboard from a cruise ship due to these safety measures. Other factors can include suicide, accidents, or rarely, foul play. Although it's hard to believe that in today's age there are no CCTV cameras all around to detect at least what has happened to the person. Well, they do. Modern cruise ships have cameras, overboard detection systems, and security protocols to prevent and detect such incidents. However, these systems are not foolproof. Cruise lines are required by law to report disappearances to the FBI under the Cruise Vessel Security and Safety Act. However, some critics suggest that not all cases may be reported. Once a passenger is reported missing, crew members conduct an extensive onboard search, often announcing the person's name over the loudspeaker. The ship's security team reviews surveillance footage to determine if, when, and where the person may have gone overboard. If it's confirmed that a person has gone overboard, the ship will stop and turn around to search for the missing individual. The cruise line immediately informs the Coast Guard or relevant local authorities about the incident. Smaller boats may be deployed from the ship to assist in the search. The Coast Guard or local authorities may conduct air and sea searches, depending on the ship's location. After a thorough search, if the person is not found, the ship will usually continue its planned itinerary. The search may be handed over entirely to Coast Guard or local authorities. The cruise line typically provides support to the missing person's family and friends on board.
What actually happens to you if you jump off of a cruise ship? Yeah, so you guys know I'm former Coast Guard, all right? I was a navigator and I spent months, if not years, doing search and rescue on the open ocean, all right? I was a navigator. I went to school and learned how to find people lost at sea. So what happens to a person if they jump off of a big boat like a cruise ship? Well, let's talk. If you were to jump off of a big boat or a ship, right, you would want to do your very best to get as far away from the boat as possible. Most people are not strong enough swimmers. If you were to jump off of that boat and get too close to the boat when you hit the water, most of the time, more often than not, you're going to be pulled underneath the water and your body is going to go right through the screws. Yeah, the screws are those big propellers that turn. Some of those ships have got 2 of them, some of them have got 4, but those things create a lot of suction and they're huge. It's not like a little bitty propeller. These propellers, these screws are as big as a Volkswagen in some cases. These things are huge, spinning through the water, churning up the water and chopping up everything that goes through them. Now, if you were to get far enough away from the boat that you could avoid the screws, and the ship, you know, they would start their emergency efforts, man overboard, hopefully they saw something. It would take them a mile or more to turn around. Now, moving at 8 knots, you're looking at quite a long time that you're gonna be in the water. And that's if you stay in the exact same spot that you fell in and they can easily find you. So the water in the ocean is much, much colder than the human body. The human body is 98.6 degrees, right? So if you're exposed to the water, and say the water's 80 degrees, which it's not, it's much, much colder than that. Think of it like this, like an ice cube. When you put an ice cube in the water, eventually that ice cube will melt and become the same temperature as the water. Well, the human body does the same thing. So if you stick that human body in the ocean, given enough time, the human body will become the same temperature as the ocean. Now, while this is happening, you're freezing to death. All right, and you may not even realize. It could be a sunny day, but the ocean is cold enough. If you sit in there long enough, you get hypothermia. You get confused. The darkness alone would probably be the most frightening thing if you didn't go through this cruise. While you're treading water in that ocean and only hearing the wind in the water, in the darkness, maybe if you're lucky there's a little moonlight, I imagine it will be one of the scariest things in the world. Right up until the point where the sharks that follow these boats around find you. So sharks are kind of like dogs. And over a millennia, we have trained these dogs. We have trained these sharks to follow boats around because every day they throw trash overboard. So what happens is, as sharks get older and they're not, they're not as good at hunting, right? They get older and they're not so quick. They start following around these ships. So you end up with these huge, huge sharks that follow these boats around. The chances of you jumping off of a cruise ship and surviving are slim to none. Slim to none. I don't recommend it.
Let's look into some high-profile disappearances. Amy Lynn Bradley, a 23-year-old American woman, disappeared on March 24, 1998, while on a Caribbean cruise with her family aboard the Royal Caribbean International cruise ship Rhapsody of the Seas. Amy was last seen by her brother Brad in the early hours of March 24th. They had been at the ship's nightclub and returned to their cabin around 3:35 to 3:40 a.m. Amy's father Ron woke up around 6 a.m. to find her missing from the balcony where she had been sleeping. The Netherlands Antilles Coast Guard conducted a 4-day search of the surrounding waters, but found no trace of Amy. Authorities initially speculated she may have fallen overboard, but this was rejected as Amy was a strong swimmer. Other theories include human trafficking, as there were reported sightings of her in Curacao in the months following her disappearance. The FBI is still actively investigating Amy's disappearance, offering a $25,000 reward for information leading to her whereabouts or the conviction of those responsible. Despite numerous leads and possible sightings over the years, Amy Lynn Bradley's disappearance remains unsolved to this day. Rebecca Coriam, a 24-year-old crew member from Chester, England, disappeared from the Disney Wonder cruise ship on March 22, 2011. Rebecca was last seen on CCTV footage at 5:45 a.m. in the crew lounge, having an emotional phone conversation. She appeared visibly distressed. She failed to report for her 9 a.m. shift and could not be found anywhere on the ship. Disney staff searched the ship, and the U.S. Coast Guard and Mexican Navy were contacted to search the surrounding ocean, but no trace of Rebecca was found. The case fell under the jurisdiction of the Bahamas, where the ship was registered. Only one detective was assigned, who spent just 1 day on board interviewing 6 crew members out of 950. Possibilities include falling overboard, suicide, or foul play. Some evidence, like a ripped pair of shorts, suggested there may have been a struggle. Rebecca's disappearance remains unsolved. Her family has criticized Disney's handling of the case, believing the company knows more than it has revealed. George Allen Smith, a 26-year-old American man, disappeared from the Royal Caribbean cruise ship Brilliance of the Seas on July 5, 2005, under suspicious circumstances. Smith was on his honeymoon with his new wife, Jennifer Hagel Smith, on a Mediterranean cruise. He was last seen in the early hours of July 5, 2005, between Greece and Turkey. Bloodstains were found in his cabin and on a metal overhang below his balcony, suggesting foul play. The cruise line was criticized for their handling of the incident, including failing to lock down the ship and allowing passengers to disembark before a thorough investigation. Turkish authorities conducted a brief investigation, but were rushed off the ship so it could continue its scheduled route. Theories about Smith's fate include accidental fall, suicide, and murder, with some speculation about a robbery gone wrong. The case remains unsolved, but it has led to increased scrutiny of cruise ship safety and passenger rights. Smith's disappearance has prompted discussions about cruise ship passenger rights and led to proposed legislation for greater transparency and federal protection for passengers. Families of missing passengers may be able to file lawsuits against cruise lines if negligence can be proven. While cruise ship disappearances make headlines, they are relatively rare considering the millions of passengers who cruise each year. Let me know which case of a missing cruise ship passenger intrigued you the most and why.